So all of what you guys were saying was good. It's accurate. It works. Exaggerated sensitiveness, it's important to not miss that word. He is saying that when your sensitivity is exaggerated. And exaggeration tends to be conscious. You know you're doing it. How big was that fish that you caught? It was this big. You know? When we say things like, oh my God, I'm literally dying right now. No, you're literally not. That's an exaggeration. Unless you just don't understand what the word literally means. It's an exaggeration. I have the biggest headache in the world right now. That's an exaggeration. Please don't say over-exaggerated. Please don't say over-exaggerated. That's not a real thing. Exaggeration is already over. That's part of the definition. That would be like saying big, huge. Okay? It's not over-exaggerated. So exaggerated sensitiveness. So to exaggerate how sensitive you are about something is an expression of a feeling of inferiority. So why would we feel like we have to exaggerate how sensitive we are to something? Perhaps because we're really not sensitive towards it. But we have to pretend like we are. Or we feel like we have to pretend like we are. Because if we don't pretend like we are, then, well, there's something wrong with us. We're a bad person. I think that's probably what I was thinking about when I read this. Think about the kinds of things in our lives that we exaggerate our sensitivity towards. That if we don't, we're going to feel like, oh my God, people are going to say that there's something wrong with me. Or maybe we may even feel like there's something wrong with us. The rich should help the poor, right? I feel that. Poor need help. Okay. And we can even get angry about it. We should help the poor. So I guess the question becomes, why aren't you helping the poor? And we get in the streets, we'll march for it, we'll carry placards, we'll demonstrate for it. But if you're living in this country, no matter how poor you are in this country, you're generally going to be far better off, far wealthier than people in other places. So why aren't you helping? Well, people who do that will tend to get very angry, and they'll pump their fists, and they'll get pissed off that Jeff Bezos has that much money, and we'll get angry at Elon Musk, and we'll slam him. Why? Because you know you should be doing more. You know you could be doing more. And the only reason, and the only way that you can justify it in your own life is to point to someone else and say, well, what about them? That's kind of like, you guys ever in class, and maybe in junior high school, hopefully in junior high school, the last time something like this happens, where there's a couple of you guys and you're talking or you're misbehaving and the teacher busts you, and your response is, well, I wasn't the only one. What about them? Yeah, but you were doing it too. But they were doing it worse. But you were doing it, right? Oh my God, that's not fair. You were doing it. Just because somebody else doesn't get the punishment they deserve doesn't mean that you didn't get the punishment that you deserve. Other people may have gotten away with it, or maybe there was a reason that you're picked, or maybe you're so narcissistic and self-centered that you don't realize how bad it was, how you're behaving. Maybe you're so locked up into your own world, ignoring everything else around you, which is probably the only reason we'd be behaving that way, that you completely miss the impact, the negative impact that you're having on people around you. That's most likely the case. It's kind of like that when we get pissed off at the rich for not doing more. Well, is it a good thing to help the poor? Yes or no? Regardless of how much. Regardless of whether you're Jeff Bezos or whether you're someone who just lives in San Diego. If the answer is yes, if helping the poor is something that's good in and of itself, and if you really believe it's good to do that, why aren't you doing it? I'm poor myself. You're poor compared to Jeff Bezos, but you're not poor compared to kids in Guatemala. So, again, it begs that question. Why aren't you doing more? Because you'd rather eat the supersized fries rather than the regular fries. But I don't have as much. Is it good or not? That's like saying, I can't be as honest as somebody else. Yeah, you can be. You can be honest, you can do something. Just because you can't do as much as, I mean, Bill Gates doesn't have as much money as Jeff Bezos. So should Bill Gates sit there with all his billions and go, well, Jeff Bezos isn't doing more? You know, with the exception of one human being in the world, everybody else in the world can make that same excuse. I don't have as much as. And having as much as, I still don't understand why that would be a necessary condition to helping. Why do you have to have as much as that person to do what you possibly can do? Maybe you can only give $1, maybe you can only give $10. That's something, though. Unless, of course, you really don't believe that we should help the poor. Which is fine, if that's your view. But you'll notice that we'll mask it. We'll feel bad about saying that. We'll feel bad about saying that. So we have to exaggerate our sensitivity towards the poor. We have to exaggerate our sensitivity towards a whole bunch of other things. We can call it what it is. We have to exaggerate our sensitivity towards trans. We have to exaggerate our sensitivity towards race relations. We have to exaggerate our sensitivity towards the poor. We have to exaggerate our sensitivity towards all of these things, because the truth is, most of us just want to live our lives. We don't want to get caught up in all this stuff. We just want to wake up, go do our thing, but we feel bad about it. Or probably don't even really feel so bad about it. It's more of, well, if I don't say anything, people are gonna come after me, so I feel like I have to say something or do something or express some sort of a belief and exaggerate that sensitivity, because it comes from this feeling of inferiority. I don't feel like I feel bad about myself for not caring. So should you care? Yeah. Should you not care? Yeah. In other words, whatever it is you're feeling, that's what you should be feeling. There is no, I don't know why it is that one person can come along and tell you what you should be feeling. However you're feeling is how you feel. Whatever you're thinking, that's different. You can't control your emotions. If you could control your emotions, you'd call them your reasons. You can control your reasons. And you can use your reason to guide you. You can use your reason to tell you how to get the things that you want. In other words, your passions, your feelings, your emotions should tell you the things in life that you want. Your reason should be the thing that then guides you to arrive at those things. Sometimes that reason can intervene and say, shouldn't want that thing, because it's bad for you. It's not the thing that you need. It might be the thing that you want, but it's not the thing that you need. So putting these two things in their proper place. You shouldn't, should you be an emotional being, or should you be an intellectual, rational being? Yes. Yeah. You should be both. Should you be a fighter, or should you be an intellect? Yes. Yeah, you should be both of these things. We get so one-dimensional. I think this kind of goes back to what you were saying. We get so one-dimensional. A man is supposed to be these things, and anything that's outside of that is anathema we should get rid of. Are there things that a man should be? Yeah. Is there such a thing as toxic masculinity, though? Yeah. Are there things that a woman should be? Yeah. Is there such a thing as toxic femininity? Yeah. We don't like talking about these things, though, because, well, my goodness, what are they going to say about us if we talk about toxic femininity or toxic masculinity? And who am I anyway to come along and tell a person how they should be? Maybe the first step is to be the thing that you think other people should be. In other words, before you go out into the world and try to clean up the world, clean your room. So do the things in your own life that you would like to see the rest of the world do. Because it's a hell of a thing to come along and say, here's how the rest of the world should be. Here's how all men should be. Here's how all women should be. Here's how the rich should behave. Here's how the poor should behave. Get about the business of behaving first, the way that the person should behave. First, I have to figure out what should means in those cases. It's an odd thing, man, that we'll be young and we'll feel like we should tell the old people how they should behave. I remember being in high school and thinking, like, what the hell do I know? When I was in high school, we used to get in the back of my friend's pickup truck and go up to the top of the Hollywood Hills, and he would drive down the hills, erratically at night, and then we would stand up in the back of his pickup truck and see who could stand up the longest without falling down. Was I ready to tell the world how they should arrange their economic systems? These things seem like good ideas to us. We do the dumbest thing. We take drugs to escape reality. And yet we think we need to tell reality how it's supposed to behave. Really? But we take drugs without even knowing how they operate on our bodies. We have no idea what they even do to our neurochemistry. And yet we do them. Are we forward-thinking enough to tell the world's political systems how they need to operate? How we should restructure the American economy? To be more compassionate and understanding? Do we know what any of these things mean? And yet we grab our placards, we hit the streets, and we go out and tell the rest of the world how to be. And yet, that's why I said, when I see people out in the street demonstrating, I'd love to have keys to your houses and go and look and see what your house looks like. Is it in order? Is it cleaned up? Or is it trashed? Is it ruined? It reminds me of when we're looking for other planets that we can go inhabit. I don't know, man, maybe we should stop trashing this one first, so that when we get to the next one, we don't end up trashing that one also. Maybe we should fix our own lives so that we don't trash other people's lives in the process of telling them how they should and shouldn't live. And if they disagree with us, somehow using what we can to force them to. As though power somehow makes people right. If that was the case, man, the whole world would be run by the UFC. Which might be fun.